Why the Boston Red Sox should not trade Aroldis Chapman at the trade deadline.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is here every single day. Happy Wednesday. We are halfway through no Red Sox baseball. They do return in a couple days with a tough series coming up against the Cubs, followed by a couple other tough teams next week in the Phillies and Dodgers. So gonna be a long week and a half stretch for the Red Sox. Hopefully they can stay hot just like they were going into the All-Star break. I'm going to be building the best possible lineup for the Red Sox for the second half a little bit later on today's show, but also analyzing Red Sox draft picks now that the draft is complete and some of the patterns that I noticed about this draft in particular for Boston. But first of all, the Red Sox should not trade Aroldis Chapman at the trade deadline. It makes too much sense to keep him at this point. Earlier in the season, when the Red Sox weren't playing well and it was feeling like they maybe would be sellers at the deadline, I would have said, okay, maybe it makes sense because Chapman's been having an unbelievable season for this Boston Red Sox team right now. 1.18 ERA, 0.76 whip. And if you're unsure what whip actually means, it's walks and hits per inning pitched. So essentially, it's a statistic used to measure how many base runners a pitcher allows per inning. So a lower whip generally indicates a more effective pitcher. So how it's calculated is you add the number of walks and hits allowed by the pitcher and then divide that by the sum of the number of innings pitched. So for example, if a pitcher allows 5 hits and 3 walks over 6 innings, their whip would be 5 plus 3 divided by 6, which is 1.33. I know I'm not a math person either, but for reference, a whip below 1.10 is generally considered excellent, and Chapman's is 0.76. So for reference, basically that means he has very few base runners that he's allowed. 58 strikeouts currently on the season, which is a high number for a reliever, showing that he just has a really strong ability to dominate hitters. He has 12 saves. He's just been a great go-to guy for the Red Sox when it comes to closing out games. He's through 28.1 innings this year, which is a relatively low number, but typical for relievers, especially somebody who's closing a game and usually only pitches 1 inning, give or take. His strikeouts per walk ratio is 39-9, which is a really strong ratio, indicating that he's had really good control this year. Essentially, that means that for every 39 strikeouts, he's issuing 9 walks. He's had 8 consecutive outings without allowing an earned run, so he's been very consistent overall, and 10 consecutive appearances with at least 1 strikeouts, so he's generating lots of swings and misses. So there's been a lot of upside to Aroldis Chapman's game this year. He is averaging 13.74 strikeouts per 9 innings and just 2.37 walks per 9. And on top of all of that, he's allowing just 0.47 home runs per 9 innings. So he has been unbelievably difficult to hit. The left on base percentage is 87.8%. So essentially that means that even if he does give up a base runner, most of the time that base runner is not scoring. Ground ball percentage is 39.2%. So he's generating lots of weak contact on the season. So all of that to essentially say those are all very dominant numbers. Chapman is having arguably the best, if not at least one of the best years of his career right now. And while that's very valuable for any team, and he's probably, I'm sure, a guy who the Red Sox have already received calls on from other teams, you do not want to trade him if you are in a playoff spot. Things were looking really gloomy for the Red Sox as of a month ago when they were significantly struggling. And even out of the gates after the Devers trade, when they were on their West Coast trip, they did not play good baseball in there for a while. But now they're in the middle of a 10-game win streak. They seem to be clicking in a lot of areas of their game that they weren't exactly clicking in earlier on in the season. So now they're at the point where they are contending. And again, Aroldis Chapman's value is through the roof right now. So if the Red Sox did want to trade somebody, he would 100% be a player that would be in that conversation due to the fact that a closer of that caliber who's having as good of a season as he's having is incredibly valuable for a team looking to make a World Series run. But because the Red Sox are in the playoffs right now, if the season were to end today and they are not even close to being out of their division race, given that they're only 3 games out of first place, they are going to need Aroldis Chapman in order to make a serious run. Why? Because he's a proven closer. He can pitch under pressure, and he just has a vast amount of experience. Imagine the pressure that would fall on somebody else if the Red Sox were to trade Aroldis Chapman at the deadline. Yes, it's hard to believe that he would have another season like the one he's having now after this. But the reality is, you need a lockdown closer to win a World Series. And this season feels like a season in which the front office has a reason to believe in the team they have in front of them. And Jordan Hicks, a pitcher who the Red Sox acquired in the Rafael Devers trade, he is somebody who the Red Sox see as potentially being a future closer. And in that regard, they are continuing to throw him out there and give him reps, sometimes in high leverage situations, to see how he throws in those situations. But you cannot be experimenting with that if you are trying to make the playoffs. If the Red Sox were completely out of contention, I would say 100% trade Chapman and throw Hicks into closing situations to try to make him the closer of the future. But if you're trying to contend this year, you need to keep the sure thing. And the sure thing right now for the Boston Red Sox is Aroldis Chapman. So the last thing I would want to see them do is trade away their top tier closer who's been having an unreal season and is an all-star this year, to try to bank on somebody else going out there and being just as consistent in that role. Chapman has surprised me a lot in a good way in terms of his performance on the field. I wasn't expecting him to be as dominant as he has been. And because he has been, this is an opportunity for the Red Sox to capitalize, especially because they have maneuvered their way into a playoff spot. Do not take a chance on somebody closing games that doesn't have that experience that Chapman has and doesn't feel nearly as much like a sure thing because of the fact that they are a playoff team. Don't trade Chapman. Keep him at the deadline and keep things rolling. Coming up, what does the best lineup for the Boston Red Sox look like for the second half of the season? That's going to be discussed. If you are in the plumbing, HVAC, or electrical industries, I highly recommend you getting on Supply House today. You can get supplies you need to make doing your job a lot easier. It's an easy-to-use website that's packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get your job done as successfully as you can. Plus, there's an inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. My cousin uses it on a day-to-day basis, and he absolutely loves this site. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. The Boston Red Sox need a better backup catcher. When you look at the team that the Red Sox have in front of them right now, because of the fact that they are starting to get healthier, they have a really good chance to make the playoffs with the team that they have. And that's very exciting because it truly has been a few years since we have been able to say that we feel confident that we have a team that could be a World Series contender. The Red Sox, based on the talent they have in front of them right now, are so close to having a lineup that could be unstoppable. And the primary piece that's the weak link is Connor Wong right now, who doesn't have an extra base hit all year and has not been able to be effective at all as the backup catcher. Carlos Narvaez has been truly stepping up in the games that he's played in, and his playing time as a result has increased. But Connor Wong has a 149 batting average with 7 hits and 3 runs scored over 21 games this season. His 2025 stats also include 0 home runs, an OPS of 384, which is very small. He's played primarily as a catcher in 32 games with some appearances at first base and DH. So over the course of this season so far, he has a 149 batting average. His career average is 246. He is recognized for his strong arm behind the plate, where he's actually ranked 10th in Major League Baseball with a 1.94 second pop time to second base. And he has shown impressive base running skills for a catcher, but his defensive skills are not all there. He has a really hard time with framing and making stops behind the plate. He threw out 16 of 76 runners attempting to steal, which is 21.1%, and ranked in the 79th percentile in MLB in sprint speed, 28.4 feet per second, which is all well and good, but he has not been hitting well, and he hasn't been able to play effective defense behind the plate in terms of making those stops that he needs to make. His left pinky fractured in early April, which kept him sidelined for a bit, but he just has not been cutting it. So if the Red Sox could go out and make a move for another backup catcher, they would be in really good shape. Somebody who at least can be a little bit more effective than Connor Wong, because it's always tough in the games where Narvaez isn't catching, because you do feel like Connor Wong is an automatic out when he's out there. And this lineup is significantly stronger than the last few seasons' lineups were. For example, you have 1 through 5 who are always regularly dominant, but in the past, it felt like the 6 through 9 hitters were always automatic outs. And you can't really say that now, especially with the way that Cedar Rafaela has been playing in the 9 hole. He is not even close to being an automatic out and has actually been the team's most consistent hitter as of late. But if you look at the lineup with where they're at right now and how they can maximize it, if you have your outfielders out there that are continuing to rotate, you can have Duran hit in the leadoff spot, which he should continuously keep doing. He can play in left field. You can keep Roman Anthony in right field. You can keep Cedar Rafaela in center field, and Wilyer Abreu can DH. And then on the flip side of that, if Yoshida is going to DH that day, then you sit one of those outfielders and you keep rotating. But either way, all of those 4 players that I named, you can throw into the lineup on any given night, and they would help contribute as part of the Red Sox best lineup that they can put out there. Whether the combination of outfielders that's out there that day playing is Duran, Rafaela, Anthony, and Yoshida, for example, or Duran, Abreu, Yoshida, and Rafaela, whatever the combination may be, any of those 4 players are going to be able to provide value at any given time with those outfielders rotating, and then Yoshida primarily as the designated hitter when he is out there. So that's a group collectively of 5 players that you can feel confident in. Then you move on to the infield. Alex Bregman at third base, Trevor Story at shortstop, Marcelo Meyer at second base. And while you have Romy Gonzalez and Abraham Toro, who have both been pretty consistent in terms of the way that they've been contributing offensively at first base in the platoon role, the Red Sox lineup could be a lot more enhanced if they get a mainstay at first base. So that's something that I'm looking to see them do at the trade deadline, is acquire a strong first baseman. O'Hearn from the Orioles is a name that has been mentioned as of late that's on the Red Sox radar. I really like Romy Gonzalez and I really like Abraham Toro, but if the Red Sox acquire a mainstay at first base who provides a big offensive prowess, then Romy Gonzalez could go back to being used more as a platoon guy / utility player, where he could either platoon at second base with Marcelo Meyer if they want to keep getting him into the lineup consistently and regularly, or they just kind of rotate him through the infield to give guys nights off, however they decide to do it. But if the Red Sox say we're going to get a first baseman at the deadline, that would just create a lot more consistency, because going into the playoffs, ultimately, I would be worried about relying on the idea of that platoon of Gonzalez and Toro. As good as Abraham Toro has been, it's hard to feel confident that past the trade deadline and even going into the postseason that he's going to be able to remain as consistent and as competitive. So at least if you have a little bit more of a consistently proven first baseman there, that would help enhance the infield. Then you obviously are going to keep Narvaez as the starting catcher. And like I said, the Red Sox do need to upgrade the backup catcher role, because the way that Connor Wong has been doing things just has not been working for this Red Sox team as of late. He just has been having a tough season. So that's definitely a move that the Red Sox need to consider making. And then with the pitching staff, the way that Brian Bayo and Lucas Giolito have been pitching in the Red Sox rotation, there isn't really a need to just go and revamp the starting rotation at the deadline. Garrett Crochet is the ace still, and then Brian Bayo and Lucas Giolito being closely behind him, those are guys who the Red Sox seriously feel like they can rely on heading into the postseason, because you look at it as a solid number 2 and number 3. Brian Bayo and Lucas Giolito have both pitched their way into that conversation of being a number 2 or 3 starter. So when the Red Sox do look to add to the rotation, they definitely need to enhance it a little bit, in that I don't like the idea of Walker Buehler pitching every 5 days, just because of the struggles that he has portrayed this season. The Red Sox could be in a lot better shape in terms of that rotation if they find another strong arm to put into that rotation behind Crochet. I brought up Joe Ryan from the Twins. Obviously, a long shot would be a guy like Skeens, but there are a lot of starting pitchers out there. Nathan Eovaldi's having a fantastic season. He's an interesting name to look out for as well when it comes to the trade market. If they add another reliable starter, then they no longer have to rely on Buehler in that rotation, and that would help boost the rotation significantly. So look to add another starter, look to add a backup catcher to replace Connor Wong, because he has not been able to get the job done in an effective way. And he is the one hitter that I look at on the team that I say is just a liability and does not enhance the offense. But the bullpen has been really strong. And especially with Slayton being injured, the rest of the pen has been able to do its job pretty effectively. And that's been exciting to think about, because there were a lot of questions surrounding the bullpen going into the season. I already talked about Chapman, but even guys like Justin Wilson has been a big surprise. And Jordan Hicks, who they acquired recently, is one who's been pitching pretty well. Garrett Whitlock has gotten himself back together. So the bullpen's been reliable overall. Brendan Bernardino's had a good season, and they have Sandoval coming back from injury, hopefully relatively soon, that can contribute in maybe a long relief type of role. We'll see where they put him, but that would be the ideal lineup for the Red Sox to have on this roster for this second half push. Again, get another backup catcher because Connor Wong just is not getting the job done. The Red Sox had a pitcher-heavy draft this year. What does that say about their approach moving forward? Going to be discussing that next. I know it can be really scary sometimes having trouble managing your money or having no idea where it's even going. That's where Monarch Money comes in and can be a lifesaver for you. It's actually more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in just one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. So I really like it because it helps me identify all these random subscriptions that I had that I was paying for that I didn't even know about. And ever since I started using Monarch, I've been able to save so much more money because I wasn't spending it unnecessarily on things I didn't even need. So I highly recommend that for you too. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. So the Major League Baseball draft took place over the weekend. It started on Sunday night and then continued on Monday. And just to remind people, the Major League Baseball draft can sometimes be a bit of a crapshoot just because you're not really drafting for immediate need. You're drafting the best player available because it takes a long time to develop these players, and there's so many players you have at each position in your system. So you're not exactly doing it based on, oh, our second base doesn't look promising right now, so we need to draft a second baseman, because it takes a while for somebody to actually get up to the majors, generally speaking. So you're drafting for your overall future of the franchise, and you're drafting the best players available. And ever since Craig Breslow took over as the Red Sox general manager, he has really emphasized pitching in the draft. He has been a pitching heavy guy, and that is exactly what he did in this draft. And drafting pitching is the best thing he could have done for the Red Sox future. Now, looking at some of their draft picks, their first pick was number 15 overall, where they drafted right-handed pitcher Kyson Witherspoon from Oklahoma. I actually talked about him on yesterday's show, but he's a hard-throwing right-hander who began his college career at a Florida junior college before playing 2 years for the Oklahoma Sooners, going 10-4 with a 2.65 ERA and 124 strikeouts over 95 innings this spring. He tops out at 99 miles an hour and improved his walk rate from 4.5 per innings as a sophomore to 2.2. He throws both a slider and cutter, and he does flash a changeup and curveball as well. So having a 5-pitch arsenal is something that hopefully will help him to find a lot of early success. His twin brother, Malachi, also pitched for the Sooners and is also a prospect, although he projects as more of a fastball / slider reliever, whereas Kyson has the pitches and delivery to be a starter. So why exactly did the Red Sox take him when they did? While this team has been pumping out hitting prospects in recent years, pitching coming through the farm system hasn't exactly been a strength. So Witherspoon has a chance to change that if everything clicks for him. He has power, stuff, and strong athleticism with the potential to be a legit swing and miss starter at the big league level. He isn't quite as safe a bet as the trio of college left-handers who went above him in the draft, but some scouts do believe that the right-handed Witherspoon is on the verge of a breakout as the Red Sox land him. So they have the opportunity to develop a really special pitcher. So I don't think they wanted to pass up on him. And there were people who thought he would have been drafted before the Red Sox had their turn. So he fell a little bit more than maybe he should have. And a lot of times in those situations, that ends up being a steal. So hopefully that is the case. So then the Red Sox picked At 33rd overall, they also went with pitching by adding right-handed pitcher Marcus Phillips. He is from Tennessee. This was part of the competitive balance round of the draft. So essentially, this was a pick that the Red Sox acquired from the Brewers in the Quinn Priester trade, and they selected Phillips. He was the second Tennessee pitcher that was taken that night in the draft, and he actually throws just about as hard as number 5 pick Liam Doyle and can also find the strike zone. But there are some questions about his arm action that the Red Sox will have to address as he progresses. But obviously, they see something in him that they really like and they're excited to work with. So then after that, they went with a shortstop at number 75 overall in the second round compensation, Henry Godbout, a shortstop from Virginia. So drafting infielders is never a bad idea because a lot of these kids won't end up actually playing shortstop. A lot of them will move to a different position within the infield based on team need. But drafting a shortstop means he's probably versatile and can be moved. So the Red Sox wanted to take the opportunity to draft him when they did. In the third round, at number 87 overall, they drafted Anthony Jansen, a pitcher from LSU. In the fourth round, at 118 overall, they took Mason White, a shortstop from Arizona. In the fifth round, at number 148 overall, they grabbed Christian Fauch, a pitcher from Arkansas. Then at number 178 overall in the sixth round, they took pitcher Leighton Finley from Georgia. At number 208 overall in the seventh round, they took Miles Patton, a pitcher from Texas A&M. Their eighth round pick at number 238 overall was pitcher Dylan Brown from Old Dominion. In the ninth round at number 268 overall, they took pitcher Jacob Myers from LSU. And then at number 298 overall in the 10th round, shortstop Maximus Martin from Kansas State. So as you can see, they really loaded up on pitching in those early rounds. They were not messing around when it came to that. And they said, we need pitching in our farm system, so we're going to grab kids that are pitchers. In the 11th round, at number 328 overall, they took Barrett Morgan, a pitcher from Cowley County Community College. And then in the 12th round, at 358 overall, they took Ethan Walker, a pitcher from Kentucky. At number 388 in the 13th round, they took Jack Winney, a third baseman from Wake Forest. In the 14th round, at number 418 overall, they took pitcher Carter Rasmussen from Wofford. At number 448 overall in the 15th round, they took Skylar King, an outfielder from West Virginia. And then at number 478 overall in the 16th round, they took Jason Gilman, a pitcher from Keon-U. In the 17th round, number 508 overall, Patrick Galley, pitcher Ole Miss. 18th round, number 538 overall, Cade Fisher, pitcher Auburn. In the 19th round, number 568 overall, they took Fabian Bonilla, an outfielder from Christian Military Academy in Puerto Rico. And at number 598 overall in the 20th round, they took Garrison Sumner, a pitcher from Brigham Young University. So obviously that's a lot of names, and I know you don't hear these names and you're like, wow, these guys are going to be so good. Chances are these names and hearing them probably don't mean a whole lot to you. There are tons of baseball players out there and tons of kids who constantly get scouted prior to the draft. But the biggest takeaway from the Red Sox draft is that they were really adamant about getting pitching. Craig Breslow was brought in to try to build a sustainable future for the Boston Red Sox. And for years, they didn't really have a good way of developing pitching within their own system. It just is what it is. And at this point in time, they're still looking to build on that area because everybody was talking about over the last few years how strong of a farm system the Red Sox have. But pitching was the weak point of that farm system, and that was something that they needed to grow and develop. So again, Craig Breslow drafting pitching is the best thing he could have done for this organization, because now, while they may not all pan out for multiple reasons, the high school kids that teams draft sometimes choose to not sign and go on to college instead, in which case then they would have to get redrafted after that if they want to go to a Major League Baseball team. Other kids might sign with them and then just not pan out, but out of all of these pitchers that they drafted, they are hoping that at least one of them pans out, because it's law of numbers. When you draft more pitchers, the more likely it is that you'll be able to develop some studs. And I know the front office really believes in the pitching development program that the Red Sox have now and the staff they have within their pitching development. So they're really excited for the future when it comes to the pitching staff. And Craig Breslow definitely approached this draft in the right way by going for pitching, because that is a huge area of need, and something that's been an area of concern over the last few seasons for Boston is that they just didn't really have a lot of homegrown pitchers because they weren't good at developing them. So I'm happy with how things went for Boston. I do feel like they are on the right track, both from a future standpoint and from a right now standpoint. When you think about how exciting things have been lately for the Red Sox and the fact that the major league team is clicking right now, it's also exciting to think about their future, which is certainly a bright one ahead. So there's a lot of things to be excited about when it comes to this Boston Red Sox team. And because of that, I appreciate you going along for the ride with me and tuning into Locked On Red Sox, making it your first listen of every day. Be sure to next check out Locked On MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to podcasts. You will get local analysis on a national scale about every game that's taking place every night for the entirety of the season from our Locked On experts here, so you don't have to scroll through social media to figure out big moments that happened in game. So make sure to check that show out next. Keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.